Are you a junior developer looking to enhance your skills and boost your career? Then this video series is just for you. Hi there, my name is Art. In this 5-video series, I cover the fundamentals of code editing tools, code management with Git, command line tools, the basics of DevOps and security. As a software developer with over 20 years of experience at startups and big enterprises, I know what it takes to succeed in this industry. I made this video series as a learning map to guide you and suggest topics for further exploration. Go ahead, start watching, and take the first step towards becoming a well-rounded and successful developer.
When I started coding for money, I used a simple text editor. No code highlighting or auto-completion, let alone any advanced features. So I had no idea if my basic syntax was correct at all. I just had to rely on my memory, and every time I changed something, I had to rerun my code, see if it worked, check the errors in the log, and start all over again. And that was pretty entertaining. It's like cooking. You spend an hour mixing the ingredients for a fancy cake. You wait for 40 minutes for it to bake, and then you take out the resin-like substance from your oven. Today we have better options. Usually when you start learning a new language, a basic code editor is the way to go. You don't want all the fancy features to distract you. But these editors aren't that basic anymore though. The most popular ones are Sublime Text, Atom, and Visual Studio Code. They're all lightweight and easy to use. Visual Studio Code comes with a lot of built-in functionality, and it's actually closer to a full-featured IDE, which we are going to cover in a minute. But all of them have a huge number of plugins available. Syntax support for different languages, code linters, static analyzers, and so on. So whatever you are working on, you can create a setup to support it. Atom and Visual Studio Code are free to use. Sublime Text comes with an evaluation license. In practice, I saw people using these editors to work with pretty big code bases. So these editors are a viable option for different kinds of projects. They have a few disadvantages though. The one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work smoothly sometimes. Code editors' strength and weakness is that they are made to work with any programming language. You can install additional plugins to bridge the gap when it comes to specifics. But overall, integration sometimes suffers because of that. And you feel that things just aren't smooth enough. So you need to find workarounds for all the minor issues. Every single case is not a big deal, but it becomes annoying when you have a lot of them. Also, things can get slow if you stuff your editor with plugins like a turkey for Thanksgiving. For instance, Atom uses the Electron framework under the hood, which means it's a JavaScript app inside a wrapper. So don't expect it to be as fast as a native app for your platform. Sometimes it can be hard to find a proper set of plugins for your needs, or some plugins can be in the beta stage and may not be stable enough. So this is something to keep in mind when you choose an editor. Most of these plugins are open source, by the way. It can be a good opportunity to contribute or support other developers. The bottom line is that the code editors are a pretty solid option for development. Imagine that you are getting a customizable car. With some effort, you can make it work the way you want, but the ride probably won't be smooth all the time. One thing to mention here is that some people prefer to use bare-bone editors like Vim with command line scripts to automate different tasks. In this case, you need in-depth knowledge of different tools and additional time to maintain them. Also, it's questionable how it would work for larger projects. Okay, code editors are fine, but what are the other options? A shovel would probably be fine for digging a small trench, but what if you need to dig a hole for a basement? I'm sure you've heard of IDEs, or Integrated Development Environments. The name reflects the main selling point. These are sets of nicely integrated tools to give you everything you need for development. What does it mean exactly? You can think of it as a code editor with plugins that work together as smoothly as possible. Of course, it's a bit of oversimplification, but you get the idea. Usually people start using an IDE when they need to work on a complex project. Let's figure out why. When you install an IDE, you get a lot of functionality out of the box. Some advanced features are debugging and profiling support. Whether it's a compiled language or a web script, IDE help you execute your code step by step so you can see what's going on under the hood. You can also get aggregated profiling reports right in your IDE. Refactoring support. Say you need to rename one of your methods. Some IDEs would automatically search through the project files and do the replacement for you. They can handle pretty sophisticated cases that you could have missed if you did it manually. Code quality inspections. IDEs go beyond simple syntax highlighting. They can suggest optimizations and security changes. I can tell you from my experience that sometimes I get suggestions I haven't known before. Built-in support for sidecar technologies. Say you are working on a website in PHP. You also have a JavaScript frontend. You get JavaScript support right away, so you don't need a separate editor. Or you need to add some Terraform scripts to set up your infrastructure. You get syntax highlighting and smart code autocompletion for it. There are versatile IDEs and IDEs specific to a language. An example of a popular versatile IDE is Eclipse. You can download different packages to customize it. It's similar to plugins for code editors, but packages are more integrated. For example, you can download a PHP package that includes a set of tools for PHP support. This way, you get a better experience. A good example of a language-specific IDE is a suite by JetBrains. They have IDEs for many languages including PHP, JavaScript, Python, Kotlin, and others. This is a commercial IDE that uses a subscription model. It has support for plugins, but you can start without them. An IDE includes pretty much everything you need to write the code, check it, refactor it, deploy in different ways, debug, and profile. And it's all polished to work seamlessly together. Besides, IDEs often have great integration with code management tools like Git. This way, you don't need additional tools if you prefer using a UI instead of the command line to commit and push your code. So, are there any drawbacks? The short answer is yes. IDEs can still be slow at times. For instance, it needs to index your codebase and external libraries to make autocompletion work. Or tools like linters can be a bit slow. This in turn can slow down other code inspections. And you may notice a delay after you type the code and before syntax errors show up in the UI. IDEs usually have a steep learning curve. To master them, you need to learn the features and keyboard shortcuts to use them. But it will speed you up over time. You will be able to change your code quickly and safely. Besides that, IDEs have many settings. It means that when you start a new project, you may need to fine-tune some of these things. So you get great flexibility, but also more stuff to learn. Now you may be wondering if commercial IDEs are worth it. My answer is yes, especially if they aren't too expensive like products by JetBrains. You don't have to start with an IDE though. With smaller projects, editors should work fine for you. But if you're ready to work on something more complicated, I strongly recommend looking into commercial IDEs. I switched over many years ago and I don't regret it. I honestly tried to use editors again, but I figured that the experience was entirely different. And I also feel more productive when I'm using an IDE. Another thing I want to mention is cloud IDEs. A good example is the Cloud9 IDE from Amazon. It probably doesn't have as many features as a standalone application, but it integrates pretty well with AWS infrastructure. So if you run your application on Amazon Stack, it could be an option for you. Also, you can use any device with it, as long as you have internet access. Cloud9 is free, but you have to pay for the server instance to run it. There are other options like Coder or Gitpod. The former focuses more on companies, and the latter works well for individual developers. They allow you to run standalone applications remotely with seamless access through a browser. It means that you can use devices like Chromebook or iPad to develop in JetBrains PyCharm, for example. Also, this way you aren't locked to a specific cloud provider like Amazon. Eclipse IDE is also available as a cloud version. So make sure to check out the editors and IDEs we talked about and pick whatever works for you.
I hope you learned something new today. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to learn more on this topic or anything else about software development. See you next time!